Hello Canon EOS M and Magic Lantern fans. Today's video is going to be a little different. In the first part, I'll be responding to a thoughtful comment from my friend who also shoots with the Canon EOS M. He's an incredible creator who not only films but also tests and custom modifies a wide range of vintage lenses. I'll leave links to his channels in the video description below. I'm sure many of you will find something truly inspiring and useful there. In the second part of this video, I'm going to show you something truly special, something you don't often see on YouTube, macro footage shot. I'm confident you'll be surprised by the stunning image quality and beautiful colors this little camera can deliver in macro. So make sure to watch until the very end, you won't want to miss it. So coming back to my friend's question, which you can read on the screen, it can be summed up like this. For a fair comparison, both shots should have the same framing and distance, otherwise it's hard to judge the real difference. And that's absolutely true. Only with identical framing and distance can we accurately evaluate the difference in bokeh between the speed booster and the standard mount adapter. So, to ensure a more accurate test, I brought a measuring tape with me into the forest to properly mark the distance between the subject and the camera. I'll be honest, not every shot ended up perfectly framed since the terrain in the forest has some elevation changes. Ideally, this kind of test should be done on a completely flat surface. However, a few well-aligned shots should be enough to give us a clear and useful comparison. So, let's take a closer look and try to spot the differences. Just like in the previous comparison, the first clip was shot using the speed booster and the second one with the standard mount adapter. I want to point out that this particular footage was shot on flat ground, and both frames are quite similar. You can tell by the tree stump in the center of the image. While filming, I honestly didn't notice any major difference between the two, but during editing, some subtle distinctions became more noticeable. Okay, pay close attention to the edges of the frame when using the speed booster. There's a subtle but noticeable difference in the swirl of the bokeh. We can also see that the background compression is more pronounced with the standard mount adapter, which makes sense since we're working with a longer focal length compared to the speed booster. The next two clips have slightly different framing, but overall they're similar enough to compare. Once again, you can notice that the edges in the speed booster shot have a more pronounced swirly bokeh pattern. There's also a clear difference in background compression. The standard adapter compresses the scene more due to the longer focal length. Okay, looking at the footage with you, I can tell the bokeh difference is so small most people probably won't even notice it. But if you're after that really smooth, blown out bokeh, a speed booster will definitely give you that. The only question is, are you ready to spend more money for it? It's totally up to you. And to wrap up the first part of the video, I'd love for you to join in and take a guess at whether these clips were shot using a speed booster or a standard adapter. The videos are numbered, so feel free to leave your guesses in the comments. In the next video, I'll reveal the results and announce who came closest to the correct answer. Also, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really means a lot to me. Stay tuned, and I'll see you in part 2 of the video. I hope you're still with me, and as promised, in the second part of this video, you'll dive into an amazing magical world. A world that's right next to us, yet often goes unnoticed. When I first got into macro photography, the first thought that came to mind after reviewing the footage was something like, wow, this is right here with us. It's an amazing world that's invisible to the naked eye. So, what do you need to do to see this world through the lens of your camera? Before you start shooting macro videos, there are a few things you should know. First off, you'll need a ton of light. I'm talking a lot of light because macro photography really needs it. And you'll also want a lens with a very short minimum focusing distance to get up close to your subject. Personally, I use the Canon EF 50mm lens, and for macro work, I add macro rings to get that even closer focus. Macro photography is pretty tricky and depends on a lot of factors, and I'm not just talking about your gear here. For great shots, you need calm, windless weather, and it's best to shoot in the summer. Winter doesn't give you much light, and honestly, there's not much to shoot either. In the country where I live, nature is just starting to bloom after a long winter, and right now is the perfect time for this kind of shooting. Unfortunately, I couldn't capture any insects that day because a strong wind kicked up, so I had to focus on shooting more stationary subjects instead. Then, by midday, the sky got cloudy and it became difficult to shoot with a closed aperture. In macro photography, depth of field is super important, and it's best to shoot at f5.6 or higher to get as much depth as possible. But even with the footage I managed to get, I was really happy with the results. It's such an interesting experience, and I definitely recommend every photographer and videographer give it a try. Thanks for watching the video all the way through. I hope I managed to inspire you for some new projects, and I'll see you in the next video.